What's up everybody, back for another Honkai Star Rail video. In this video, we are going to go over the best teams to use on the newest Apocalyptic Shadow Instigation of the Locusts. So, we have good old Beetle and good old Fantilia this time around, right? The buff this time is when enemy targets with Steadfast Safeguard or Weakness Broken, aka the bosses, dispose control state for all allies, and allies immediately take action and restore HP. All enemy targets take 15% more Memo Sprite skill damage and 25% more ultimate damage, right? So, buff isn't the craziest this time around, unfortunately. The action advance is nice, but I honestly like the ultimate energy one the most, right? For the Beetle, the three buffs you can pick from are at the start of battle when there are 2, 3, or 4 remembrance characters on the team. Increase damage enemy targets receive by 5, 10 to 20. This effect also applies to all new enemies that enter combat. Then increase ice damage dealt by allied targets by 50% and speed by 10%. And the last one is after the character in position 1 and the team uses ultimate, increases their weakness break efficiency by 50% and their crit damage by 50%, lasting for 1 turn. Very clear that the first one is for Castoris, Evernight teams, right? With like Cyrene, Hyacine, all that. Second one is very clearly for Herta. I mean, this is kind of like her boss almost. Jinglu can also get a buff from it. And then the last one is very clearly for Mr. Phanon himself. Then the second one, when all allied targets deal damage to enemy targets afflicted with 3 dot states or more, increase weakness break efficiency by 50%. Then increase weakness break damage received by all enemies by 15%, additionally increases super break damage received by 20%. Then the last one is increased crit damage to all allies, basic attack and ultimate damage dealt by 30%, with an additional increase of 30% against enemy targets that are weakness broken, right? So, of course, the main purpose of this game mode is to be able to weakness break your enemy. So characters who can either implant or are the exact type are going to be a bit better here, right? First things first, we got to talk about the meta characters. These are going to be the characters who are just going to be good regardless. They're pretty much the same every single time, right? But I feel like I should just put them anyway. These characters are pretty much just your support characters, right? Sustain, supports, yada yada. I'll try to be quick. I should probably just have these up by default, like every single time. I mean, it's like the same characters almost every single time we do this, right? Silver Wolf, by the way, is like very, very good. I know you can't see it at the moment because I'm just grabbing all the characters, but very, very good. Brony deserves to be up here now. Gallagher can be up here because of break. And I think that's everybody. You guys get the gist, right? If there's someone I missed, put them up here, right? It's just your support sustains, yada yada, right? So for the first thing, for the Beetle, the best characters are going to be Castris, Evernight, and Herta, right? Now, the reasoning for this is because, well, one, the Beetle is pretty much just asking you to bring Remembrance characters at this point, right? Which the Remembrance characters that are the head of the team are either Evernight or Castris. I mean, you can run them on the same team. You can run them as their own DPS, their own DBS, but pretty much it's those characters. And then Herta obviously can get the ice buff as well. Plus, there's a lot of beetles spawning, you know, AoE queen over there. So that is my reasoning for those three. Then in can work, I'd probably put Jinglu. Let me go ahead and find her real quick on here. The reason Jinglu's on can work is because you know, the Beetles can be kind of tanky, right? And Jinglu isn't as full AoE as, you know, someone like Herta, right? So she could struggle a little bit there. But she should be able to get you a decent clear as long as you have the good supports with her, right? Next up, we are going to talk about Fantilia. Now, I know you're probably like, wow, we didn't really talk about a lot of units. Well, the other units I could talk about are Phanon and Anoxa. Phanon works for both because even though the first one buffs him a ton, he still implants physical weakness, which is very helpful for whatever you're fighting, right? Plus, Fantilia has a lot of flowers. He should be able to instantly just nuke him down with his meteor. Then Anoxa doesn't care what you're weak to. He just implants it himself, which is pretty useful. Plus, he has the bounces, so he can hit multiple targets. So he doesn't have to worry about not being able to break the beetles, right? So he is overall good on both, so you can pretty much just put them up there with it, and you have a few more options. Fantilia has infinitely more options, though, mostly because of what her fight is buffing, right? So for Fantilia, you can use someone like Saber. I have Mide on this one because it can be hard to target the flowers but it's infinitely easier to get Fantilia to be able to be her weakness broken or her toughness, because she locks her toughness bar, right? It's infinitely easier to get that one unlocked than it is the beetle. So Mide, only targeting the big enemy can be kind of annoying when you want to take out a beetle instead, but the flowers, kind of the same concept, but it should be infinitely easier. So I'm going to put them on this side, right? Then we have good old Aglia coming back in. She can hit multiple targets. You know, they're all weak to her typing, so she's good. And then, of course, Rappa and Firefly, because there is a break buff. This is kind of their game mode, right? Even though they do need a bit of help. Fantilia summons a bunch of flowers, so you are ready to go with Rappa. And then, who would be up next? Good old... So this one is going to be a little confusing for y'all, right? I am going to have Kafka right here, and then Hycelians down here. Now, the reasoning for that, right, is because I ran Dot on this stage, right? I ran Silverwolf, right? Because my Dot team was Kafka, Hycelians, Silverwolf, and Donhang Terra, right? Or Dante, whatever you want to call him, right? The reason for this is because even though there is a Dot buff, Fantilia and the flowers are not actually weak to physical damage. So how I was able to get past this is I was implanting the weakness onto Fantilia and then using Hycelian's skill to apply dots to the enemies, which would then allow Kafka to have more of a weakness break on the flowers, resulting in more damage. Once you kill the flower, Fantilia is able to be weakness broken, and then since she's weak to physical damage, that means that Donhang and Hycelian's can both lower her toughness. Hycelian's getting a buff from it. Actually, no. Dante should also get a buff from it because of the buff being, I believe it's just 3 dots, right? Yeah, okay, yeah, even Donhang will get the buff from that, right? Because it's just 3 dots, so any character can get it. Silverwolf herself isn't going to be doing much, but she lowers defense, so that's more damage, and then she implants, and that's pretty much all she was really there for, which is kind of annoying because you would think if something is buffing Dot, they would be buffing like Hycelians because she's like the main one, right? Regardless, though, is what it is. That's just how it rolls, right? Other characters who are going to be good on it is you could work it with Acheron or Blade, even, right? But other than that, there's not a ton of options for the bug as there is Fantilia. Fantilia actually has a lot of options. Like, there's actually a ton of options. It's APOC. Have I tested them all? I will say no. The only ones I'm shaky about are probably not even Saber, because Saber attacks a bunch. Like, Fantilia is pretty easy, at least in my opinion, right? From all times I've fought her, because the flowers aren't the most insanely tanky things on the planet, and once you break one of them, it does a huge chunk, and it also lets her be open to weakness break, right? Which then, if you're using an AoE character, right, or even someone like Saber, right, you can still just hit everybody over and over, which you're breaking the flowers, and sometimes she can spawn more, and that is a bit annoying, right? You still, like, they do such a big amount that if you're just running an AoE character, like when I was running Dot, I would detonate, which would do a couple, like, you know, chunks of her toughness on Fantilia, and then the flowers would explode and just do like so much damage to her, right? But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know if any characters on here struggle. Let me know if any other characters that you used to clear should be on here, right? I'm sure that Constance, wherever she is going to be, she's probably going to be really good against Fantilia because she's fire, right? But other than that, that's pretty much going to be it for the video. Let me know in the comments below. Well, actually, Constance isn't even going to be out by the time this resets, right? So I think it's like, how many days? Let me check, actually. Is this going to be up? This is up for 41 days. How long is Cyrene's ban rep for? Constance will actually be out before this leaves. It'll be like the week. It'll be like the thing rotating out next after a banner drops. That's actually kind of funny. Yeah, because Cyrene's banner is 35 days, 22 hours, and the mode is up for like 41 days. That's what it is. But anyway, that's pretty much it for the video. Let me know in the comments below what team you use, and of course, I will catch y'all in the next one. Thanks for watching.